back. Thanks for coming back to my part 2 of movies that I watched and really loved in quarantine. Today I want to talk about Hereditary by Ari Aster. It came out in 2018. It got rave reviews, 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is one of the most iconic movies to come out of 2018. It's really up there. It is such an amazing film. This was Ari Aster's debut. It was his first major motion picture, and he did it phenomenally, completely original, and a completely different type of horror compared to a lot of the things that are coming out lately. So the movie follows this family, and they're trying to navigate their way through loss and grief and really strange events that are going on. I'm going to avoid all spoilers. I'm sure a lot of people have seen this movie, but if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it for you because it is so amazing. It follows Annie, who is played by the amazing Toni Collette. Her emotional state in this movie from the very beginning is just bad. She has gone through so much in this film, and the way she portrays it and the way that she emotes everything on screen was beautifully done. It was a really great film. She did amazing. So it follows Toni Collette and her husband Steve, played by Gabriel Byrne, and their 2 children. Peter, played by Alex Wolff, who went above and beyond for this movie as well. No 2 characters in this movie went through as much as Peter and Annie. Alex Wolff and Toni Collette, I cannot describe to you how phenomenally they did in this movie. And it also stars the very young and amazing Millie Shapiro. She had very little dialogue in this movie, but the dialogue that she did have shivers from the very beginning. It's subtle and odd, and it just puts you in the right state of mind, I guess, to get ready to be scared. She played such an odd character so well. She's on TikTok. Check her out. She's hilarious and great. For her to be only 15 years old, she really did amazing. So it follows this family and the loss of their grandmother and how they deal with that and the secrets that come out of their grandmother passing away. They meet some really crazy people, some crazy turn of events happen. And it's all a real build-up, and it's really scary in subtle ways, and I really want to go over some of my favorite things about this movie. The first thing I want to talk about is the way this movie is shot. The cinematography in it is amazing. The first shot opens up to the camera scanning the house, and it's Annie's workroom. She is an artist, and she has made it like her job. She makes miniatures. These miniatures mirror what's going on in the life of the family. It really foreshadows and alludes to a lot of things. And so the camera zooms into a still shot of the room, and you can't tell from when it goes to the miniature to Peter's actual room because it's still for a minute, and then you see Steve walk through the door, and you're just like, at what point did it transfer? Because you can't tell. It is so amazing and so beautiful. There's a lot of subtlety with the way that it was filmed. It was filmed in a beautiful setting, and it really captures it very subtly. You see the subtle shots of outside, and I think the setting of this movie has a lot to do with why it is so scary. It's in a big, beautiful, older looking house in the middle of nowhere. Isn't that where the best movies are filmed? And it's beautiful, and it's cold, and you can feel how chilly it is in the first scene when the father, Steve, is walking outside to go get Charlie to go to the grandmother's funeral. You can just tell they have such a good way of conveying all the things that are going on. And throughout this movie, you see certain shots where right away you don't notice what's happening in the background because it'll be really focused in the foreground, and the background will be so dark that you can't exactly tell. But once you get a glimpse of what's going on behind the foreground, you're just like, oh my god. It kind of takes your breath away because it's just, you don't expect it to be there. There is an amazing shot where Peter just wakes up out of bed, and it's really focused on shoulders and head, and he's just like staring, like just woke up, super tired, and it's so like, you know, rub the gunk out of your eyes, and the background is so dark. You feel that way too. You're just like, ugh, I can't see crap, like what is happening? And then you catch a subtle shot of Annie in the corner watching Peter sleep, and Peter has no idea she's there, and he never finds out, and you just sit there, and he kind of like looks around the room, and the angle shifts a little bit, and then Annie does this really creepy like little like air crawl through the door. Peter does not know she is there. We, the audience, see a lot of things. We see almost everything before any of the main characters do. And that's another great tactic to scare us, but everything's normal to the characters in the film. Like, this is purely for the audience to set the tone and the mood for us. And there's tons of shots like that. And I think in a world where jump scares are the go-to, this is really refreshing. It is still just as scary. It still takes your breath away, but it's done just a little bit better. Because it makes you want to, you just want to watch. The story and the setting and the plot is so good. You know, there's been a million, which don't get me wrong, I love them. There's been a million slasher films and stuff like that where it's just like, boo, there's somebody there. But how many films really where you just see subtle things and it still makes as big of an impact? And this happens all throughout the movie. And it's really great. Like, it's not an underappreciated art, because this movie blew up as soon as it came out. And another thing I thought was really genius is we don't outrightly understand where the title came from, but as you watch, you realize that it's like a couple things. In this movie, there is a lot of struggles with mental illness and stuff like that. Annie talks about a lot how her father and her brother struggle with it, and Annie herself struggles with a lot of things. And this moves to Peter. Peter is a very distant kid. You know, he goes to parties and he hangs out with high school kids, but other than that, he's relatively quiet. You get a couple shots of him while he is at school, and he doesn't really stick out. He's just a chill kid. You can tell he struggles with a couple things too, and you can tell Charlie does too. Peter is a quiet kid, doesn't stick out or anything like that, but Charlie is the weird kid. You can tell there's something with Charlie. There's this one scene, it doesn't spoil anything, don't worry, where she cuts the head off of a pigeon and she makes dolls with the head of the pigeon. You know, that's weird. There's something going on. Now, is it inherited? Is the mental illness what is inherited? Is the innate weirdness that carries on from family to family member to family member? You know, Toni Collette, Annie, wasn't close with her mother. Her mother was very secretive, very odd, very quiet. And then her dad and brother were the same way, and this is carried on to the rest of the family. But as you watch, you'll notice other traits that both families, Annie's and her mother Ellen's family, both are all connected. And you realize that whenever the title is Hereditary, it's not just one thing, it's a couple things. And you really pick up on that. And I'm not gonna lie, like, it's a very complex and like layered movie. It took me a minute to catch all of the things that were inherited, carried on from, you know, one matriarch to the other. But it's worth it if you pay attention and watch. It was really great. There's another scene where Peter is walking downstairs, and at this point, this night has been very turbulent. There's just been a lot of crazy stuff going on, and Peter is staring at something. Once again, I'm trying to avoid spoiling anything for anybody, but he's like looking at something and he's absolutely horrified. And this is one of those things where stuff is going on in the background that you don't notice right away, because once again, Annie's up on the ceiling. She's being a freak. Then you look past Peter's other shoulder and there's a man. A naked old man. I don't know what it is about A24 films. Every old person is naked all the time. They're all naked. A24 puts out phenomenal movies. You check out some of their other ones, but I'm telling you, it's always naked old people. I don't know what it is, all the time. There's a naked old man, and you don't see him right away because he blends into the background, but he smiles really big, and you just see the white teeth, and it really,
Oh my God,
you freak out, and then right as you're freaking out because you notice, Peter turns, and he notices, and then Annie jumps from the freaking ceiling and like starts chasing Peter. And of course, that's not subtle, obviously. She's gonna chase him throughout the house. But you watch this scene for like 2 minutes with Annie in the corner and this old man in the closet, and you're just like, oh my God, is he gonna notice? Like, what's gonna happen? And the suspense just builds and builds and builds, and you're never let go of it. And I think that's one of the great things about this movie is the way it continually builds the suspense, and you're never relieved from it. You're not relieved from the anxieties, and you're always sitting on the edge of your seat. You never get the chance like lean back and relax, like, okay, the scare happened, I knew it, I'm gonna chill out now. You never get that. You're always waiting. The scenery and the tone, it keeps you there, and you stay there the entire time. Even at the end of the movie, the final scene will stick with you for the rest of the night and maybe into the next day, because it is so bizarre. You don't think this movie is going to be what this movie is about. Like, it takes a very unexpected turn, and you just sit there and you just think about it. You're just like, oh my God. Especially since it's alluding from the beginning. If I'm not making you want to watch this movie, then I need to quit making videos right now. Like, this movie is amazing. Like, that's the thing about, like, jump scares in slasher movies. Like, once the kill happens, you see the killer, you get your jump scare, you're relieved. And even after Annie jumps down from the ceiling and does her craziness, you're not relieved. No, this movie, it really takes you on a journey. After something scary happens, you move with it. You don't, oh, okay. No, you're like on your edge. You're like looking around like, okay, where are we going? What's next? Because it's just that good. You're always expecting something. And one of the great things about this movie is the entire cast is so, you've got Peter and Annie, and their paranoia is up here. The only sane person in this movie is poor Steve, the father. Steve is trying so hard to just pull his family back in and just regroup and get them together. And anytime he tries that, something else happens. You feel bad for Steve, but you're also joining Annie on her emotional roller coaster. And then there's Peter, who just keeps taking hit after hit after hit. He's trying to function, and he's trying to be a regular high school kid, and life is not letting him. His mother is going crazy, Peter can't sleep, and Steve is like holding on by like a single thread of sanity. Like, can I just please have some more sanity? Like, this is Steve the whole time. He's just like begging, like, just please, I need a break, please. And then Annie's like, no, listen. And it's just bad. You feel, honestly, a little exhausted. You watch Toni Collette and Alex Wolff emote so much. Poor Toni Collette. The things that she had to have like thought about and stuff like that to muster up all this emotion, all the sadness and rage and grief and paranoia. This movie was probably incredibly tolling on her. I know Alex Wolff came forward and even said that he had PTSD from making this movie. And honestly, a lot of people like clowned him for that. But you have to think the emotional damage that they had to go through to make this film. There is one scene where Peter is in school and some crap has gone down at the house. And you can tell he is affected by this. From the moment things really start to take off, Peter and Annie's appearance just goes down. His eyes are dark. He looks like he's in physical pain. And he looks over to this like drawer cabinet thing and it's glass. And he looks over and he sees himself, his reflection. But then his reflection smiles at him. And he's just like, oh my God. Like, even at school, things are affecting him. And there's another scene where out of the blue, he just, like, his arm, like, shoots up like this, and his face, like, twists and convulses, and everybody's like, Peter, are you okay? And then out of nowhere, just boom, 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 he slams his face into his desk, nose, like, broken and smeared, and blood is everywhere, and he actually ended up injuring himself when he filmed this scene. It is real blood on his face, but it's not from his nose. He ended up injuring his knee in this scene. And I read that in an article, and I'm a little confused because they didn't really elaborate a lot on how blood from his knee got to his face, but he hurt his knee because after he gets done, like, ramming his face into the desk, he flips back and his legs go up and they hit the desk and he, like, crawls backwards. It's a really intense scene. I hope I explained it in a way that made sense. Maybe, like, I'll throw up a little clip of it so you can get the idea of what I'm trying to say. But it was crazy intense, and it looks real. It looks like Peter's nose is just destroyed, and I'm sorry, how do you fake that? I'm not a special effects artist. I am not in costume design. I am in none of that, so I don't understand. But it looked like his entire face made contact with that desk, and it was brutal to watch. It's one of those scenes that makes you just like, ugh. Like, you kind of don't want to watch it. You're, like, kind of like watching it through the cracks of your fingers because it's gross. And there's a couple scenes like that, and on it, like, they're super gross, but you can't look away. You want to watch the entire time, and it's so good. Some of those scenes are just really brutal, and you want to look away, and you can't. You just want to watch it play out and all the yummy grotesqueness that is being shown to you on screen. And honestly, I don't know about you guys, I love gore. I love the blood and guts. I love the funky sounds, and this movie gave me all of those things. It is a very satisfying film to watch if you are into those things, because it delivers whenever it needs to. Well, guys, I kind of want to wrap it up here. I really want you guys to get the full experience of this movie. I didn't talk about a lot. I didn't spoil the ending, so don't worry. Go watch it. It is an amazing film. It is very satisfying to watch. If you are a fan of gore and subtle scares and a great scene and really amazing cinematography, this movie is going to check all of your boxes. Ari Aster is a genius. This is a star-studded cast. For this to be his first major film, he really got all the good ones. It's a really I feel morbid saying this. It's a really satisfying ending, at least it was to me. I was in utter shock, but was like, okay, I dig it. I can go with this. If you watch it and you think I'm weird, well, it's just that way sometimes. It is available on Amazon Prime if you have it. Hereditary by Ari Aster. Ari Aster has another amazing film I'm going to recommend you, Midsommar. It is also on Amazon Prime. Check it out. The cinematography in Hereditary was amazing. It was really great, but Midsommar is beautiful. Like, literally breathtaking. I'm saying literally so much, but I just need to convey to you how amazing this movie is. Similar plots taken in two different directions. The cast did great, and this movie also has an incredibly satisfying ending. It is a great movie. Go and watch it. Ari Aster deserves all the hype and all the fame he is getting. I will see you guys next Saturday. I'm hoping maybe after I finish this series, I can introduce some true crime. The next movie for part 3 of movies I watched in quarantine, we're going to be talking about The Lodge. And it's a really great film that came out in 2020. And I'll see you guys next Saturday.